Support for Living Culture is provided in part by McKay Ranch, Fit Seafoods, Work Unlimited, and by Easy Orchards. Among the forests and vineyards of Polk County, and just 10 miles northwest of Salem, college students from Willamette University are learning how to farm. The land was purchased by the school and is being cultivated in part for food production.
The property is 305 acres, and a lot of it is forested in various types of forests. So there's Doug fir forest and oak savanna and oak woodland and some bottomland type forest. And the vast majority of that property is going to be managed as forest in various ways. But a very small part, up to 5 acres, can be farmed under the conservation easement, and that's where my job comes in. I came on board in July of 2009 and was very excited about starting the farm. It had institutional support from Willamette, and the food service company at Willamette was willing to buy anything that we can produce on the farm. But in the middle of July, there's no students. So we sort of waited for the students to get back to campus because we really wanted the farm to be as much of a student initiative as it could be, with the blessings from the administration.
Initially, students created a small garden on the south side of the farmhouse, and in doing so, they developed a working model for what could then be applied to the larger field.
And in that process of establishing the kitchen garden, we took a number of steps to make it happen. There was a lot of invasive species that had to be removed, and we tilled the soil. We added a 50-50 mix of soil and compost into those beds that the freshman students put out. We then planted, cultivated, harvested, and we sold some spinach and lettuces and kale and some of those leafy fall or spring greens to Bon Appetit.
It wasn't huge quantities, but it was enough for us to work with and sort of get an idea of what, on a larger scale, it would look like harvesting, cleaning, and selling to the dining service. And then we built a fence around it to keep the deer out, which was also a fun endeavor.
See, that's probably kale, some lettuces, varietals, mesclun variety. I don't know, Katie? Yeah? What else are we growing under here?
Mainly in this garden right now we're growing lettuces, kale, mustard greens, tomatoes, peas, just a lot of leafy greens to start off with. And then later on in the summer I think we'll plant some other stuff as it gets too hot for some of those greens.
While some students focus on the day-to-day aspects of food production, others concentrate on individual projects that will impact the farm's overall success. One project is on keeping honeybees. Another involves constructing a windmill to generate electricity. This student is setting up large plastic barrels to collect rainwater from the roof of the garage.
For the past semester, I've been working on just this garage alone and putting up those gutters right there. Hopefully today we'll finish all of it by attaching the downward spouts and then connecting the piping. That's a rainwater harvesting system that's not going to produce that much water, but at the same time it's a demonstration and it's the intention.
Today's work mainly involved clearing sections between posts so we can run wire. We're going to have an electric fence, and our hopes are that will keep the deer out. Right now that field's not very interesting to them. It's just planted in rye and clover and vetch. But when we till that cover crop in and plant our vegetables, we don't want them coming in and eating up all our produce. A lot of what we're going to plant will be things that will have a longer season and be harvestable either in late August or even into September, or are things that can be stored or preserved in some way. Because our primary market is Bon Appetit, which is the food service at Willamette, we need to be able to produce things that are edible when the students are on campus.
like the growth of this movement of people like shopping and knowing and learning about where their food is coming from, how to grow it. It's just really exciting, especially how much interest has in the past like couple years. It's like grown so much.
On a personal level too, it's just understanding what I'm eating, understanding the decisions and the thought process that are going behind all of what a farmer has to do, kind of learning about what that means. And then on a bigger scale, I mean, it's part of my mission that I have, I guess, to developing local food systems, like getting a lot more people, especially my generation, connected with the food that they're eating, like to know again who grew it and where it came from and what it should taste like and what it can taste like.
We think that students need to understand how food is produced and where food comes from. And so their involvement, I think, is critical to the success of this farm. Whether these students are going to be economic majors or lawyers or teachers, they are going to need to eat. And so we think it's critical that they understand those processes as part of a sustainable life, that they can produce their own food, whether or not they become farmers. They can have a backyard garden, which would allow them to have access to fresh produce that is not traveling great distances, that is not needing a lot of refrigeration or other heavy machinery to grow, and so is thereby reducing their carbon footprint and increasing their sustainable life.
These are all the relationships that we're developing here, and this is what it means economically, socially, culturally, environmentally.